There is a particular kind of stillness that settles inside a Florentine apartment when the shutters are drawn against the afternoon heat, a stillness that carries centuries within it, layered and unhurried, like the city itself. This residence on Corso Italia belongs entirely to that world. Built at the close of the 18th century, when neoclassical restraint was beginning to soften the ornate excesses of the preceding era, the building has stood witness to the transformation of Florence across more than 200 years, and the apartment it contains has absorbed every one of those decades into its walls, its proportions, and its extraordinary painted ceilings. 120 square meters of habitable space, a figure that, in isolation, says very little. What it cannot convey is the quality of light that moves through these rooms across the course of a day, or the way the original frescoes overhead create the sensation of living not merely inside a home, but inside a work of art. These are not decorative afterthoughts applied by enthusiastic renovators in a later century. They are original, conceived and executed when the apartment was first brought into being, when Florentine artisans still commanded the full inheritance of a pictorial tradition stretching back to Giotto. To lie in one of the two bedrooms and look upward is to understand, in the most immediate and physical way possible, what that tradition actually means. Entry to the apartment is entirely independent, a distinction in a city where shared staircases and communal access are the unremarkable norm. Here, there is a sovereign threshold that belongs only to this residence, a double armored door, reinforced and resolute, opening onto a world set deliberately apart from the surrounding urban rhythm. The iron grills on the windows, far from reading as merely functional, contribute a graphic elegance that recalls the ironwork of the great Florentine palazzi, an aesthetic inherited from an era that understood beauty and security as inseparable companions rather than competing concerns. The apartment is delivered fully furnished and move-in ready, which means that the decision to make it one's own requires no intermediate period of construction or disruption. The objects already within its rooms have been chosen in keeping with the architectural character of the space. Or at the very least, the bones of the apartment are strong enough to impose their own sensibility on whatever is placed inside them. There is a quality to spaces of this age and integrity that resists incongruity, that quietly educates the eye and the hand toward a certain rightness of arrangement. Corso Italia threads itself through the city with a particular kind of civic confidence, broad enough to breathe, connected enough to position its inhabitants at the intersection of Florentine daily life and the deeper, quieter circuits of the historic center. From here, the Arno is close. The cathedral's presence, never far in the city, asserts itself with the ease of a familiar companion rather than a tourist spectacle. The neighborhood is lived in, genuinely Florentine in its cadences, and the apartment participates in that authenticity without apology or affectation. What this residence ultimately offers is the rare and increasingly scarce experience of inhabiting history rather than merely visiting it, of waking each morning beneath ceilings painted by hands that moved in a Florence shaped by entirely different forces, and of carrying that continuity forward into whatever life is made here next. Some apartments are simply places to live. This one insists, gently but firmly, on being something more.